Hi guys, Jess here. Today we're going to be making raspberry jam, and as you can see I've got some beautiful raspberries in season. Unfortunately I had to go and buy them because it's done nothing but rain this summer, and I don't fancy standing out in the pouring rain picking raspberries from our local pick your own farm. But I do want to show you how to make raspberry jam, as you know this is the season for it. Although I have to say the supermarket raspberries are rather beautiful, and I'm sure they're going to make some fantastic raspberry jam. Now with raspberry jam, the same with all the soft fruits really, they're pretty low in pectin, and so what we want to be able to do is extract as much of the flavour and as much of the pectin out of these raspberries as we possibly can without destroying the flavour. And the best way to do that is to use a little bit of citric acid, same as I do with the strawberries. Very much the same procedure. If anybody's watched my strawberry jam video, which I recommend you do, very much the same procedure as that. We want a saucepan that will come with the raspberries in it. About in this case, raspberries have got big holes in them, of course, you know, where the cores come out, so there's a deceptively large amount of raspberries to start with for the amount that they end up being. So with the raspberry jam, take a saucepan that you think your raspberries will probably half fill when you put them in there. Just wet the bottom, so put some water in the bottom, wet round the saucepan, chuck the water out, just leave a little, you know, just as a little bit running about in the bottom. Very simply, chuck your raspberries in. There we go. Preferably taking out any leaves that you might see at the time. Take these few as well. Yeah, that leaf actually fortunately fell on the side there. Okay, so we've got our raspberries in there. We've got a moist bottom to the saucepan. Okay, all we want to do then, take our citric acid. You can buy this any brewing shop, and I've got there 600, nearly 700 grams of raspberries in there. And I'm just going to put a level, you know, a modest level teaspoon of citric acid. I'm just going to sprinkle it over like you would sprinkle sugar on your breakfast cereal. There we are. And then they're going to go on the heat, the very lowest heat I can, with the lid tight on. You want to make sure you've got a good fitting lid on your saucepan, the lowest heat possible, and just let the citric acid pull all of the pectin and all of the flavour out. And it should take not much more than 15 minutes. It wants to, just when it starts to come to a simmer, then you should find that all of the texture of the raspberry has disappeared and you're just left with a nice pulpy juice with the pips in it. So I'm going to let that happen, and we'll come back and go on to the next phase after that. I'll see you then. Okay guys, so here we are. The raspberries have simmered now. I left them on the heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. They came slowly up to a simmer. I gave them a good stir a couple of times because there's no water, especially at the beginning, there's no water in the bottom, of course, other than just a damp saucepan, so you want to make sure that they don't stick. But I kept the lid on as much as possible. Once they came up to a simmer, I held it there for about 5 minutes just to make sure that we extract all of the pectin and all of the flavour. And you can see, if I can hold this up perhaps to the camera, you can see that that's all just gone completely down to mush. There's the most fantastic smell of raspberries pervading the entire kitchen. So this is now ready really to go to the next stage. So what we need to do is we need to move that to a slightly larger saucepan. If I put the sugar in there, there's not going to be any space, it's all going to boil over. So I just need to transfer that to a larger pan. Okay, so that's now transferred to a larger pan, and I'll put that one in the sink. Okay, and now we need to put the heat up full on that pan, no lid on of course, and we need to add our sugar. Now most of the raspberry jam recipes call for equal sugar to weight of fruit, so you know, for a pound of fruit you add a pound of sugar. I always add a little bit more. I've got 700 grams of fruit I started with here, and I'm adding 750 grams of sugar. I always like to add a little bit more. It just kind of gives you that insurance policy for a good set. And because I add the citric acid, of course, to get the best out of the soft fruit, you've got that bit more acid in flavour balance, as it were, to play with, so you can add a bit more sugar without making the whole thing too sweet and sickly. If raspberry jam can be anything but sweet and sickly, but I hope you know what I mean. So, we dissolve the sugar now in there, just stir it round, heat up full, hopefully that will dissolve in there in no time at all, because they're nice and hot, and we should see that. There we are, the sugar's now completely dissolved in there, and what we're going to do now is keep the heat up full and achieve, we hope, a rolling boil. And that's going to take a moment or two, that's not going to happen instantly, so save you just staring at your computer screen watching a bowl of raspberries as they come to the rolling boil. I shall turn the video off and we'll bring it back when they're getting close to the boil, okay? Okay guys, as you can see, this is now just starting to come to a boil, and it's starting to bubble away. I just give it a stir every now and then, make sure that nothing sticks, but we're coming close to a rolling boil now, and I think the scum that I can see on the surface, I think, is looking like it's going to set. So we're just waiting now for this to come to the boil. I have put a saucer in the freezer, should I say, for testing. If you make sure the saucer that you put your little drop of jam on is nice and freezing cold, it just speeds up the process of checking whether there's going to be a set or not, because you don't want to you don't want to leave this stuff on the heat for any longer than possible once you know there's going to be a set, because of course it tends to ruin the flavour. The longer you boil it, the more chance there is of getting that horrible caramelly, tasteless jam. But I think I can see just from the way this is behaving, as I showed you on the strawberry jam video, you can absolutely, this is going to set. I don't need to do any saucer tests. You can see, I hope you can see, that in the centre here, as this is coming to a rolling boil, this scum is all crinkling up. Now that shows that that's going to set without question. I don't need to do any tests on saucers or anything. All I need to do now is bring this to a rolling boil, which it's nearly at. It's just coming up now, and you can see that lovely, that's the classic telltale sign of a jam that's going to set. All that lovely dense foam, and it all looks like a bit like volcanic lava all bubbling away there. That is going to set. You know, when you just see it boiling like water, then you know you've got problems. But when it's doing this, there's no need to test it. So I just bring it up to the boil, and that's just going to sit there for, give it 30 seconds. There you are, we're going to a rolling boil. Just have to turn the heat down a little bit, because otherwise it's going to go over the top. There you have that beautiful rolling boil, just like that volcanic lava. Can't miss it, no need to check that. That is going to set. And there we are, I can turn off the heat. And that's all that needs to be done. And how long did that take me? I don't know, less than an hour to make the whole of that raspberry jam. And that is going to be perfect. And we'll just let that cool a little bit, and then we'll put it into some jars. Okay guys, so here we are then. Here's the finished article. It's cooled slightly, and the scum that's formed on the surface, you can possibly see, I don't know whether I can hold that up well enough to the camera, but there's a scum there on the surface. It's easy to get off because it's going to set so well that the scum kind of almost comes off in one piece. We just need to de-scum that. Put the scum, I put it on my, bring it round this side to show you. I put it on my spoon rest. There we are. You can spend a bit more time at it than I am, because you don't want to stand here watching me de-scum raspberry jam, but it's worth spending the time to make a good looking product, as always. And then it's into the measuring jug. Make sure, if you're going to store this for any length of time, of course, or use it at shows, always make sure everything after the heat has been turned off has been sterilised in your pressure cooker. So the jug, any funnels you're using, obviously the jars, they all need to be sterilised. Okay? And then it's just a matter of pouring it from there into your jars. And of course, again, what better for your soft fruit, strawberry jam, raspberry jam, your blackcurrant jelly, all those Bon Maman jars are absolutely, they're just made for it, aren't they? Now, how cute does it look in there? So that's a sterile one. Again, the usual way. I should have shown you properly. You know, keep the lid of your jar up that way so nothing falls on it. Hold it close to your jar. Let's move that out of the way. For the proper procedure, hold it close to the jar. Pour in your jam. Going nearly to the top. Couple of millimetres space, no more. And on with your lid. Up nice and tight. There you are. You can't say fairer than that. Perfect raspberry jam. And the thing about it is it's had so little intervention. You know, the raspberries were bought up to the boil in the first place, nice and gently, so you didn't lose any of the flavour. The citric acid just extracted all of that pectin, all of the flavour, and then we just brought it up to the boil, 30 seconds, held it there, done. You know, all these people that boil it away and boil it away and boil it away because they haven't got the right amount of sugar to pectin to acid ratio, and you know, they end up really with caramel. You know, that's what they end up with, is raspberry caramel in the bottom of their, you know, in a jar, which is pointless completely. That has got as much flavour as you're ever going to get out of the raspberries you started with. Superb summer raspberry jam. Till next time, see ya.